Dear friends, today we are celebrating Father's Day across the nation. And I remember a humorous story about a new father who was throwing a baptism party for the newborn baby. This father was a soldier, and so the ceremony was taking place at the army base. So before the ceremony, the army chaplain called the new father aside and asked him, "Are you prepared for this solemn event?" The soldier said, "I guess so. I have some ham, bread, cakes, cookies." So the chaplain interrupted and said, No. I was asking you, are you spiritually prepared for this event?" So the soldier paused and said, "Well, I don't know. But do you think 2 cases of whiskey would be enough for this?" So just go easy on the whiskey today. We all are familiar with social media. Parables are like social media in Jesus' time. A parable is a short story used by Jesus to explain a moral lesson. In today's parable, Jesus is talking about the small things that can bring great changes in the world and in our life. In the first parable, Jesus tells them that a farmer scatters seed which over time grows and sprouts and produces fruit. Then, when the grain is ripe, the man harvests his crop. The emphasis here is on the seed, which seemingly has a power to grow on its own. And this is how it is with the kingdom of God. It has a very small beginning, but great effect. This parable reminds us that faith grows slowly over time. It takes preparation of the soil, watering, fertilizers, and more. It takes dedication and patient waiting from the farmer to turn the seed into a crop. Similarly, Jesus planted the seeds of God's kingdom by his life, his miracles, and teachings. Although the kingdom is already present in his disciples, just as a seed takes up time to grow, so does God's kingdom. In other words, Jesus is telling us the preaching of the gospel will yield its fruit no matter who sows. It is God's work, and we all are like tools in this process. The second parable is about something we cannot see. It focuses on the tiny mustard seed, which could have been the smallest seed of Jesus' time when the farmers would have sown. Small as the mustard seed is, it develops into a tree, almost larger or taller than a house. We cannot see the tree inside of that seed, but the potentiality of becoming a tree is already in that seed. Jesus can already see the fullness of our faith within us. Though the mustard seed generally grows average to 10 to 12 feet in height, it provides nesting for the birds. It provides shade for the birds of the air. Just as the tree welcomes the birds, so also God's kingdom is welcoming and open to many. The seed of God's kingdom is something very tiny to begin with, but it will grow to be a big tree. The seed is planted in the apostles. It has set roots in Jerusalem and Rome, and it has now grown to a big tree, able to embrace the entire world. So, we should not identify size with significance, because great movements often start with small beginnings. Today, the kingdom of God is present in the church, and the mission of preaching God's kingdom is given to each one of us. Parents have a special duty. They are expected to plant tiny seeds of faith in the minds of their children. It is then God's grace that brings forth the growth and result. However, we live in a world of fast products, or we could say instant products. We love our instant coffee. We like our instant food. But God's work takes time, and we need to be patient and be open to the God of all surprises. As we all know, every big building or structure starts with a small brick. So also it is said, every long journey starts with a small single step. Dear friends, it is easy for us to see and experience things that we can see with our eyes. But the most important things in our life are invisible, like love, mercy, justice, and hope. Our efforts alone are not enough here because God does the invisible part. In the famous book called The Little Prince, one of the characters says, what is invisible in our life is often the most essential in our life. Not only are they invisible to our eyes, but they are also very essential for our life. That's why in the Lord's Prayer we say, Thy kingdom come, because we know that it will come at the fulfillment of time. For now, what we need is faith. I like to close with a quote from Neil Maxwell, a religious American scholar. He writes, God does not begin by asking us about our ability, but only about our availability. And if we prove our willingness to serve, then God will increase our capability.